Yeah, I mean, it's a great segue because the follow-up question that I wanted to ask for this, and one of the things that we were kind of impressed by is it's not just the sequencing services that you're providing. And, here's your data. It's you, on top of that, you have built in what you've already showed us, this health management platform that says, this is what we've understood from basically the tests that you've done and what you can do about it. And that includes everything that you suggested, which is the diet suggestions, the probiotic supplements that you could take. You have a wellness score. I want to talk about all these, but you kind of highlighted it, but I just want to highlight it again. How did you manage to collect all this data necessary to provide recommendations like this? And expect whether that's the personalized recommendations or that's the different type of bacteria species. Where did this come from?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's different open source databases from like the NIH and so forth that can index all the different microbes. But in terms of getting down to, not just what's there, but why it matters and what can I do about it, that's a whole different, set of questions, different set of products and services. Like I mentioned, there's 50,000 plus research articles on the microbiome. Some of the research is stronger than the others, but essentially many of these research maps out different microbes or different food sources that can potentially affect microbes and so forth. And so we used natural language processing and machine learning to find signals in research to be able to categorize all this content, because it's a lot of content and it's growing at a pretty rapid speed. It's about 40% year over year in growth in terms of new microbiome research published. When you look at genetics, it's only 3% year over year. And so, for us, we were able to index all that, and we hired, a team of PhDs, probably about 15 PhDs from a different country. We're early startups, so we had to be scrappy. But essentially, they would manually review the machine learning NLP output and put that into a database, and then that went into our app, into our recommendations. So if you look at every single one of our recommendations, every single food, every single probiotic that we recommend, there's a list of research studies that we quoted, and we also grade that research. So we have a feature called our research confidence algorithm that looks at, was this in vivo testing? Was it in vitro? Was it human clinical studies? Was it double-blind placebo randomized trial? How large of a sample size was it? Duration of the sample of the study? And we look at all that to give you a weight of strong, medium, emerging, or mixed research based on each recommendation, which no other competitor in our space does. Every other microbiome company is a black box, if you will. They say, eat a broccoli, and you don't know why. And then if they change their algorithm, all of a sudden, your broccoli is a superfood, 1 week, and then next week it's an avoid food. And you're like, where's the science, right? So we try to provide as much transparency back to the consumer to say, hey, we're telling you to eat a broccoli, but the research here is still mixed. So take it, with a grain of salt. But for this food, it's much stronger because there's a lot more research. It's a lot more, credible and so forth. So that's kind of how we put the V1 of the product together. And as we continue to grow our database of users, people submit their information, survey information and so forth, we're able to pattern match through machine learning to be able to, categorize even further. So we really think about our database as the largest omics research platform in the world. That's where we want to get to, right? Rather than going to publications, they're going to start tapping into Thryve to better understand all the omics data coming out. So,
and I think that's really how you've been able to scale personalized recommendations, is sifting through all this research, trying to figure out what does that actually mean for the gut, and then in this case rate it, and then from the tests of each individual, you're just referencing the research that you have.
Exactly. Yep.
Cool. Wow. I mean, it's some of the things when on the outside in, it's you don't even know that you're working on some of these things at this scale, which is exactly why we
don't let the consumer brand friendly website fool you that there's no, not as much tech or science, right? But there's a lot going on in the plumbing. So